Hello, everybody, and welcome to another stream. I was quite busy these last couple weeks, and so I wasn't able to stream, but I'm squeezing it in this week. We're going to just get it in there and get some work done on this guy, and I'm excited to do that. So, welcome, and thanks for joining me. And let's hang out for a couple hours, work on some art together, and yeah, remember to save often, guys. Now, where are we with this fellow? Now, I have been able to do a little bit of this since the last time you guys saw me working on this guy. And I was able to finish the main body. And when I say finish, I mean all of the sort of manuals. Oh, how do I phrase this? Everything but the high frequency detail has been completed on the main body, and I am working on the wings now. So that's what we're going to be focusing on for this stream, and we'll see how far we can get. There's a lot of little detaily bits in here that I want to make sure look really cool. But I think we can make some really great progress. And then once we get done with all of that on the wings, then I'll move into high frequency detail, which will be a lot of fun, and we'll be there really soon. And then once we're done with high frequency detail, then we can move into Substance Painter, and that's when things are going to get really, really gnarly. So, yeah, we're making great progress. Let's jump in. Now, I started on the wing a little bit. You can see here, I've got just a little bit of detail starting, and I'll probably switch matte caps because this matte cap is a little bit a little bit crazy looking, a little high contrast. Kind of cool to show off the model with some contrast, but for the general sculpting, I am not as big a fan. So let's see if we can maybe try something a little more subdued. Yeah, this is one I've been really liking. Now, the thing to be cautious of, I may have mentioned this before, when you're using a material like this that has a heavy cavity map, and cavity map meaning that it shows some kind of contrasting detail in all the crevices, is that the sculpture may seem like it is a higher contrast than it really is. So it's really good for assessing if things are clean. Like it'll help you see if there's any sort of weird ripples or artifacts, or just basically you're going to have a lot of clarity with a matte cap like this. But it's also going to make it seem like the details might be a little louder than they really are. So this is fine, but switch to a non-cavity matte cap as well to just check to see how much detail do you really have. So again, this is a matte cap that might work for seeing all that detail, cleaning things up, and I like to work in this quite a bit. But then we'll switch to something like this, which gives us, I think, a more true representation of how much actual form is there. Now, if we in substance, if we end up doing some cavity like texturing, then that can enhance some of that detail as well. But we really want the sculpture to read on its own, and we don't want to be relying on the textures and materials to help the forms feel better, right? Like the form should just feel good on their own, and then the other things just support them. So that's just a little bit of guidance there in terms of how to use various matte caps. But I like this one because I can really see what I'm doing clearly, and then I'll kind of check it with one of the other non matte caps. So okay, let's dive in and see what we can get done here. Okay. Now it's been a little bit since I've been in the file, so just kind of seeing where I was at with this. Okay, let's do some Damien standard here. Oh, and I need to minimize and then maximize because my pressure sensitivity always goes away. Do I have pressure? I do have pressure. Okay, let's just go a little lighter on intensity. Maybe not that light. Maybe not that light. There we go. Okay. So the thing about this wing detail is that I want to clean it up, but I also don't want it to start to feel too designed. It should be kind of organic and random. So this is as a very sort of polish and detail oriented person, I have to like fight against my urge to be too precise with this stuff. It's got to have a good organic vibe. So we'll see what we can do here. Probably be a fair bit of moving around as well to get some good flow here. And I've been using H polish on these bony areas, these little spines. Feel like it's been given it a nice contrasting surface quality with all those other fleshy bits everywhere. And it just happens to do a really nice job of helping me get a nice clean end on these parts here. Where, sometimes when you've got these pointy spots on the model, you can get, a little bit of a finicky bit of geometry. But H polish, wrestles it into place pretty nicely. Cool. So you can see we get this a little bit like a faceted look, which will work well for that sort of bony vibe we want. Now I might even still add a few little striations. All right, let's H polish the backside. Now, one thing that's going to be nice is that the back of the wings here will not have the same type of detail as the inside. The inside is going to be all this weird, I guess I don't know what you call it, like gross fleshy stuff going on, and the backside's more of like I guess a traditional what you'd expect from like a bat wing with some stretched skin between these you know, uh, hand bones, I guess we could call them, for lack of a better term there. So because the backside's a little simpler, it also should go a little bit faster. Not that you guys can see or hear this, but today's background movie is Tremors. If you guys have not seen Tremors, it's a classic fun horror movie from the early 90s. Is that late 80s or early 90s? It's right around there. Now, this is a sort of little cluster here we've got of these little horns are just one set of multiple that we're going to have to contend with here. We've got one here, couple down here, and a couple singles. Oh, I guess, and there's one over here as well. So this one is the most complex with the set of 5, and then it drops down to 3 and then 2. So we'll be, I think, sort of dealing with these before we dive into that. I was starting on some of this wing stuff here, but then I realized it might be better to just get these little end pieces figured out first. The holidays are fast approaching, and I'll have to see if I can stream some more or not. I mean, I should have time to do that, so we'll try to have like a little holiday stream at some point. Maybe I'll wear a festive hat or something. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's get a couple little extra striations. fun thing about organic stuff is that you don't have to obsess over the specific placement of a lot of this stuff. Just got to feel right, you know? Oops, wrong brush. There we go. I'm definitely anxious to get this in Substance, man. It's going to be really fun. But, I don't want to be in Substance and then be wishing I'd done some stuff to the Sculpt. So just got to take my time and get it all looking good. Let's hit this guy up here. Well, that looks a little weird in there. We are hitting a resolution issue in a little bit of the areas here, but I'm not worried about that. Okay, that's pretty good. We get the ends here. Yeah, the ends, I think. Let's see. But hopefully you guys can kind of see why I like sculpting with this material, because it's really clear what the heck's going on. And then again, I can switch over to something like this to see, okay, how much relief is there in the forms. But with this stuff that's like so flat like this, yeah, I feel like you're easy to miss some of the sculpting artifacts that you may want to get rid of. But with this one, it just makes them painfully obvious. And I'd rather know about them now before I go baking any normal maps. Okay, that's looking kind of cool. Let's check out this side here. Now, what I'm not sure about is how much indent I want. Kind of right around the part where this is pulling. Because I think I want it to be a little more subtle on this backside here. So what I am going to do is I'm going to just hit this with a little bit of a smooth. So we got some little bit of rippling from the Dynamesh. Yeah, this inside, we're going to get a little more crazy with the details on here. Yeah, and in theory, it's the place where you're going to be seeing the wings more anyway, you know, looking kind of at the front of him and whatnot. So I think it makes sense. Right here, I says I wasn't going to work on the wing flesh at all, but here I am working on it a little bit. Okay, we'll switch to the other horns in a second here. Oh, autosave. I suppose most programs have an autosave these days, but man, I don't ever trust that. Had too many mishaps. But you guys have heard my stories about that stuff before. But yes, that's the explanation why one of my phrases is save often, because it's never a bad idea. Cool. Okay. So, and we don't have to worry about any spines over here because that's like literally his hand or one of his hands up there. So I'll deal with some of the way that the membrane connects later. Now let's just move to this little cluster right here. And that horn there's looking a little droopy. Let's try to make that look a little more stable. Ooh, I like that little bump there. It's like a little demon wart. All right, let's get in here and let's get these horns all polished up. Something kind of cool that happens with H polish is when you've got these gaps, these sort of soft gaps, when you flatten the areas to either side, it kind of creates these chiseled little channels, and it feels very appropriate for a horn like this. So you could even do some Damien standard before you do this pass if you wanted to have more of those channels. In fact, that's kind of what I did on some of the other ones. Not on the wing, on his body. I'll do that on the next one so you guys can kind of see what that looks like. Yeah, sequencing is so important, whether it's digital clay or traditional clay or oil paints. I mean, the order you do things in is like huge, right? Can have major consequences. That's why I'm always telling my students to analyze their process, because yeah, if you don't have a process, then you don't know sequence of events, right? And then you've got no sense of, when to do what and how long it might take you. And yeah, and all the various projects I work on all the time, it's like it would just be so crazy if I had no process. And if I go into something and I don't have a process, I'm always uh clear with people that, like, I need some time to figure out what process I'm going to use. Um and and just so that way they kind of know that I'm having to do a little bit of exploration before I can, settle into a flow. And some clients are cool with that. Other clients don't want any of that experimentation. They want you to just get in there and get crazy with it. And you kind of just gotta figure out what that what a relationship is going to be like. Right. I was going to show you guys how to do like some pre channels here that then get polished into like little chiseled crevices, crevasses for the fancy. So you can see this horn I haven't actually done the H polishing at all to this one yet. It's still quite doughy. But we did the striations first. Now see on this one's this is already H polished, so if I did a little channel here, I just kind of keep it thin and crisp. Just kind of stick it. I might even go a little thinner with my brush. And think about that more as like a finishing touch. Just trying to make it look good in a state without having to go in and modify it because I like the geometry it's sitting on. But this one, because we haven't polished it yet, these channels can be sort of broader and wider. And now if we go in with H polish, let's go a little smaller with the brush here. So you kind of see how it sort of, squeezes those little areas together and gives you these little narrow areas. So the difference is between this one and this one is subtle. That's why I feel like it's kind of a choose your own adventure there. But this workflow, I think, can also be really cool. It makes everything chiseled. Whereas this one, we've got some chiseled edges, and then we've got the little crevices feel a little softer. So there's a very slight distinction here. But it's nice to know that you can get either result just by changing the order of operations. And sometimes you'll get a happy accident. Just roll with that. And if you don't say anything, people may not even know it was an accident. sculpting these claws here, these horns, has me thinking about that scene in the first Jurassic Park at the dig site when you meet Sam Neill for the first time and he scares that kid with the raptor claw. Classic scene. Funny enough, the young girl in Jurassic Park is also in Tremors. Much younger in this movie, but yeah, she's in both. And when we do some high frequency detail, there may be something kind of cool to put on here texture wise on these claws. Got I think some bone textures, bone brushes, bone saw brushes. All right, should we do striations first then polish or polish then striations? Let's see. Let's do striations then polish. I do like this vibe going on here. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Ooh. I didn't mean to make that mark, but I like it. Let's go with it. All right, polish time. Occasionally I'll hit the lip there, but that's not a big deal. I may end up pinching this well, we'll see. That lip there, I just want to make sure it doesn't feel too soft. But it is kind of a nice contrast with this hard-edged stuff in here, so probably leave it. Oof. Autosave. Okay, there we go. Okay, nice. And the lighting on this spot is like messing with my eyes. I may have to switch matte caps for this section. All right, let's try red. No, it's just that it's that area right there. It's still just kind of tricky. Okay, that's fine. We'll work with it. Nope. Guess I could go lazy mouse on this if I wanted something really precise. Oh, hey, thanks. I appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, we're making some pretty good progress. Should be should be getting on to the texturing phase soon here. So yeah, thanks for the compliments. I appreciate that. Okay, I got a little bit of detail there on the wing part, but yeah, I want to keep moving on these horn areas. So I guess did we get everything we want done on these? On the horn area, I guess I can do a little bit more detailing on this area adjacent. Try to give a little bit of a silhouette to that lip there. That looks better. So the nice thing is that since this is going to be kind of like a cinematic style model, we'll have plenty of polygons to catch some of these little silhouette breakers. Okay, cool. So that's those first two. Now let's pop down to this guy. This guy's really loose. He's in dire need of attention here. Do I like that? It might be a little too much detail there. Carve that out. Got his buttocks sticking out there. Shouldn't you put on some pants or something? I guess he's a demon. He doesn't really care about that. It's a little too much ripple. I'm gonna just give a kind of a global soften to this here. There we go. So on this one, we're doing the striations, then H polish technique. So I think I did like that look just slightly more. Let's get a little silhouette edge there. Actually, some nice little wrinkles happening there. That's like completely by accident. I like that. Probably should kind of riff off that. Yeah, nice. Yeah, this whole thing kind of needs to get smooth, doesn't it? It's pretty crunchy. To be a little careful when you're smoothing like this globally because it can start to just deflate the model. And that's bad, okay? Get some water going here. It's been so dry, like that winter dryness. Hands are dry. Road is dry. Okay. H polish. Here we go. I've been in this red material for a while. Been kind of digging that, I guess. Should we switch back? Should we go gray mode? It's kind of bright, isn't it? Oh, that one's terrible. These are just so hard to see anything. Look at that. Look at that one. That one's crazy. There's the base material. Still kind of hard to see. Yeah, that red one's working for me right now. It's looking good. Now this is not the base ZBrush red material, which is not my favorite. This is what is this one called? Monty Red Wax Redux. And don't ask me where I got these from. Like I've been collecting mat caps for a long time, and I probably had this material for over a decade. I think I just felt a mild earthquake. That's weird. Seems ironic given that I'm watching Tremors. Guess I'm inviting that in, I guess. Make sure you guys can see what I'm doing. Trying to like orient my model so it's kind of centered in the viewable area there. The nice thing is when you do clay buildup at a high resolution, you can leave a little bit of that mark making in there, and it can create a kind of a cool striated fleshy vibe. Now this horn here wants a little bit of a silhouette element, just slight. Okay, before I get too carried away with all this in here, let's get this claw figured out. Damien Standard, do some of these guys. Whoops. Okay, and there we go. That's that little claw group completed. So we got the 3 big ones, and now we got these 3 small ones. All right, let's do this. Whoa, it's getting a little crowded in here. All right, let's not rely completely on autosave here. Let's do a real save. And then minimize and maximize to get our pressure back. Drink of water. All right. And now for this guy here. We're almost there, guys. Second to the last one. So close. I can taste it. All right. H polish on this bad boy. Okay, and there's that one. And now we got to do this. So this is kind of close to the body. So I think for this one, I'm going to hide the body so we can get just a really good view of this guy in here. I want a little bit more edge to this one here. Okay, claws on the wings are done. Nice. Definitely save at this point. And all right, take a moment to regroup here. So yeah, I guess we just dive into the wing details. The inner parts there. I guess we can kind of start up at the top here. And I should probably turn on maybe it's a little tricky because his kind of major arm is in the way there. I'll just we'll just block in generally how I want this to look with the arm present, and then we'll kind of hide it because I actually don't know how sh- how much tension I want to show on this area. Oops. Oh, come on. My zoom navigation is being weird. So the other thing to manage here is I don't want it to look too busy either. So I need to make sure that I leave some areas a little bit simpler, which is going to be, well, it's going to require some restraint on my part. All right, I think we can hide the body now. And I think I have a good sense of what's going on in here. I don't know if I like that little sliver in there. It's kind of weird and different. I think I need to embrace some of that randomness because otherwise this area is going to look too sort of like stamped. And I don't want that vibe going on. That's part of the reason we're spending all this time hand sculpting it, right? Is we want to have that unique information everywhere. So it would be easy for us to just, make some kind of a stamp or some kind of an alpha and just drag a bunch of these weird random things everywhere. But, well, I don't got a time limit for this. So why would I take a shortcut like that? My intent is to not only put this in Unreal, but also to 3D print it. How are we doing on time here? What time is it? I don't even know what's going on. I've lost track of time. Okay, cool. Yeah, we got some more time. That's great. Okay. My eyes are watering for some reason. Need some like eye drops or something. Should we take a peek at how it looks with the body? Yeah, cool. Okay. Yeah, these models never look that cool when they're in like a T pose or whatever, a Y pose. But I think we were getting like a decent preview of how it might look with some cool textures and rendering going on. I mean, this is like, the ZBrush viewport is not really that realistic, right? It doesn't have any kind of ray tracing going on or indirect lighting or anything like that. So it's all and the materials are very simple. So we won't get a great look at it until we actually get it into Substance. But then I think once we get it in Substance, there'll probably be at least a little bit of time spent just throwing some auto materials on there and throwing it in the ray trace render just to see how it looks as a realistic statue. That'll be fun. But actually, the colors and materials in this guy, I think, will be a little bit tricky because the the original inspiration for this car or this art is from that magic card, and the materials are, we get a great sense of the colors, but it's not the image is done in a very stylized sort of way, so we don't have great clarity on exactly what the materials should feel like. I mean, we get a sense that they're kind of like fleshy and kind of grotesque, but the specifics though are a little bit vague, and so we're going to have to be doing a little bit of interpretation there. And I think that the fear is always that if the original doesn't have that sense of realism, and then we inject that into our piece, will it just no longer feel like a proper homage to the original? So I've got to be a little careful about that. I'm sort of trying to balance those two things, which is not the easiest to do. But I mean, I appreciate those kinds of challenges. Like, that's when it's not on the nose like that, that's when it gets kind of tricky, but also kind of fun. If you can make it work, then it's like a bigger accomplishment. And that's kind of one of the things that I knew going into this one, was that there was going to be some of these bigger challenges. So it would be easy to just, completely abandon the original and say, well, I don't know what that is, or I don't know how to interpret that. So let's just throw it out. And I don't want to do that with this one. I want to try to kind of get, like, I don't want people to see this version and be people who know the original and see this. I don't want them to be um, confused about all the choices we're making. I want a lot of it to feel like it makes sense, and they can at least kind of get our reasoning as to why we might add something here or subtract something there. Whoops. Be careful with that overlap there. There we go. Oh yeah, that's looking cool. There's an interesting little piece that comes off right there. So maybe we should try to lean into that choice a little bit more. Let's do something like that. Okay. Cool. This kind of has the feeling of like almost like tree branches or veins. I guess you can kind of see it in a few different ways. I actually question a little bit of this seam being so harsh. I think I want to kind of mellow that out a little bit. I like where some of these pieces feel like they kind of connect to that main element like that. Yeah. Maybe this one here too. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that looks cool. Oh, hey, no worries. Yeah, thanks for stopping by, and I really appreciate the kind words. And yeah, maybe we'll see you again next time. We'll keep cranking on this guy. Oh, it's nice seeing people tune in, even though I think this part of the process is a little tedious. But maybe there's something kind of hypnotic about just watching organic forms fall into place. I've certainly watched long form videos of people sculpting and stuff or painting, or I mean, there's a lot of art that I think can be fun to watch, like just kind of seeing things develop and stuff. Thanks for the follow as well. I appreciate that. I mean, speed paints and speed sculpts, like time lapses and stuff, those are always fun because you get to see it all happen from beginning to end instantly, basically. But yeah, you kind of miss out on some stuff too, right? Like just some of the you know, changes in thought process or little kind of techniques and things used along the way. At the school I teach at, a lot of the students come into the school and they're inspired by all those sort of speed paints and speed sculpts and all that stuff. But also sort of creates like a little bit of like an unrealistic expectation sometimes. So we have to kind of remind them, hey, that's probably took them like, 20 hours and you're just seeing it all in like, 5 minutes. But sadly, I think we are getting close to the end of the stream here. But I think we've made some really good progress. Like, I think we got all of the hardest parts of the wings done, right? All of these claws, and I think we started to get a good flow for all this inner detail that we're doing. I think I've definitely got kind of a rhythm happening here, and I could definitely kind of envision how the rest of it will look. So it's going really good, and what I may just do is I may just kind of finish what you're seeing here, this process of just kind of going through the inner part of the wing and get this stuff detailed. Might do the back of the wing as well because I don't know that there's a whole lot to be done back here. I think this is going to be more minimal back here. Probably do some high frequency detail when we get to that phase on the back of the wing. But in terms of some of this bigger sculpting information, probably not a lot back here. So I'll get through that, and then the goal would be so that it's in a state where next time I'm streaming, I'll actually be able to start doing all the high frequency detail, which will I think be visually fun to watch. It'll feel like we've progressed to the next stage. It'll be like officially the final pass of the sculpt. So there'll be something kind of nice about that. That sort of concluding quality to that pass that will be satisfying, and I think it'll just be a visually cool to see what we can come up with on the high frequency detail. And that's where we're going to get it, and we're going to do things like dragging alphas out, right, and introducing little kind of damage and cracks and bumps, and just kind of getting wild with all the smallest details on the model. There'll be probably further details, of course, put in substance, but again, I want the sculpt to have some of that high frequency information on it. So we'll aim for that for next time, and then yeah, we'll see how far we can get with that. I don't know how long that process will take. It's hard to say. I guess it just depends on kind of how crazy we're going to get with it. But you can kind of just see some of that wing information. And I think that's working pretty good there. So, all right. Lord of the Pit coming along. Thanks everybody for watching. Hope you enjoy the stream, and hopefully I will be streaming again soon. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.